Hi lovelies, welcome back to the channel. Today is Luchke Styles here. Thank you for stopping on my space today. So I'll be teaching you all the detailed process on how to go about the sewing of this Pinafore Bustier gown. You see right here on the screen. So this is a type of gown that you can pair with different types of dress or clothes. So for me, I paired mine with a body hug long sleeve top, which is white in color. So sometimes you can also pair it with a shirt or whatever you're comfortable in. If this sounds like something you're interested in learning, please continue watching. Don't also forget to subscribe to my channel. So without much ado, let's get started with what we have for today. So I shared a detailed tutorial on how to go about the drafting of this beautiful gown we saw at the beginning of this video. So the link to the tutorial will be in the comment section. It's 100% beginners friendly as earlier stated. So if you haven't really watched the first part, I will encourage you to click that link in the comment section, which will lead you directly to the drafting part, so that in this particular one, which will be the sewing part, you understand everything I'll be doing on right here. But if you have already watched out the first part of this tutorial, you are free to continue watching this particular one. Alright, so the first thing I've gone ahead to do was to draft on my pattern paper and now transfer all my patterns to my fabric. So when I was done doing all of this, I also cut these out on my fabric, as you can see right here, and I added all my stitching allowance, and this is an Ankara print fabric I'm working with. And you can see that all my pattern papers are labeled right here. I have my center front, I have my side front, I have my center back, and I have my side back piece as well. So for my center front, you can see that at the side and at the top part, I added half of an inch, which will serve as my joining allowance. I also cut out my lining piece I'll be using to line up this my fabric. For the side front, I also did the same thing. Then on the side, I added 1.5 inches, which will be for my stitching allowance. So I'm just going to keep that aside now. So for the back part of my dress, this is for the upper part. On the center back, I marked I left half an inch at the top for joining. I also cut out on my lining piece as well. I repeated the same thing for my side back, and for the sides I also added 1.5 inches for stitching allowance. So here is the skirt part of my gown. So I've gone ahead to cut out on my fabric, as you can see right here. And one thing I did here was that when I was cutting on my lining piece, I made sure that it was the exact length of my gown. It didn't get up to the 3 inches extra I added to the length of this my skirt while I was drafting. So it's really important to watch out the first part of this tutorial so you understand everything I'll be explaining right here in today's tutorial. So also don't forget to nurture that as well. So this is the front part of my skirt. So I use the same fabric as my lining and also my main fabric. So I'll go ahead and iron all of this out, and also iron my stay to the wrong side of my fabric. So this is all I have. I'll remove all this pattern paper I have here so far so that I can start joining all these pieces together. Now I'm separating my fabrics from my lining piece. When I'm done with this, I will just start working for the front part of my dress. So here's my center front, right side facing the camera. I'm going to join them with the side front I have on this half of an inch allowance I left. Then I'm going to start pinning from the base, making sure that they align properly. Then when I'm done pinning, I'll just go ahead and stitch using just half of an inch. Catch me if I fall. So in a closer view, this is what I mean. For the base, following the way I cut out, I'm going to mark just half of an inch, which was this joining allowance that was given to this while I was cutting on my fabric. So when I'm done with one side, I'll also do it for this other side, right sides facing each other. So after that, I'll go to my sewing machine and join them just as I've marked. So the next, I'll get the back part of this my dress, and this back part, remember that it was splitted, so I have two parts now. So this smaller part will be for the zipper part, and this other bigger part is for the side. So what I went ahead to do before I removed my pattern paper was that I notched the parts that will be going with this other bigger part of the side back. Okay, so because by the time you remove your pattern paper, you'll be slightly confused. So you can see the two notches I have at that top part. So this is for me to easily identify the part that will be stitched together with this other bigger side of the back part of my dress. So right sides facing each other. Now you can see that part I told you all I notched, I now pinned it with this other bigger side of my side back. So you can see what I have right here so far. So I'll go ahead and stitch this down using just 1/2 inch because I notched the 2 smaller pieces of my back dress. Okay, so whatever I'm doing to my fabric, I'll repeat the same thing to all my lining piece you see right here. So I've gone ahead to do exactly what I told you all. When I was done joining all of these pieces together, I also went ahead to iron my seam flat. So you can see what I have right here. I remember that whatever you're doing to your main fabric, I also repeated the same thing to my lining piece. Okay, so this for the center part or for the front part of my dress. That's the upper part of our dress, obviously. So I'm not padding the bustier area, but I can see that it's looking cupped, so it's a room for my boobs to sit properly. So these are all my lining piece, which I already told you all. I repeated the same thing for my lining piece, as you can see right here. This is for the back piece and this is for the front piece. So I also cut out my strap. So this strap I actually cut out is 17 inches long. Remember that from our shoulder to our chest line was about 8 inches. Okay, so I'll bring my pattern paper right here and also measure it out. From my shoulder to the part where we cut out was 8 inches. So remember that this strap is going from the front part of our shoulder to the back. So altogether I cut out 17 inches in length, which I'll be using 1/2 inch to stitch when I'm joining it to the body part of my dress. On fold now you can see I have 8.5 inches, so this is what it should be like. So for the wideness I have 5 inches because I already folded this way and ironed this out. And please do note that this is the wrong side. I'll be stitching that part with just 1/2 inch. Then when I turn this out to the right side, I'll be left with just 2 inches. So that is how wide my strap is going to be. So I now folded my strap into 2 halves this way so that I can notch the middle. So I'll do it for the 2 straps I have right here. So when I'm done with this, I'll quickly go ahead and fix or attach it to the body part of my dress. So here's the front piece of my dress. So one thing I always do is attaching my strap from exactly my dart. Okay, so here is my dart and I'll get that notch part on my strap. I'll pin it together exactly where that my dart is. I mean the notch part. So this is the right side, obviously, as you can see right here. So I'll do it for the 2 straps which I have so far. On that notch part, I'll pin it directly on my dart. So when I'm done with this, I'll get my lining piece. Remember, I also joined my lining piece the same way I did for my fabric. So right sides facing each other, that's the right side of my lining piece and the right sides of my fabric facing each other. I started pinning this from the top part, as you can see right here. So I'll pin it all around. When I get to the base of this my dress, I'm going to take my strap inside because I'm going to stitch this all around. Okay, so for the top part I'm going to stitch using just 1/2 inch, and for the 2 sides I'll be stitching using 1/4 inch, and for the base I'll be stitching using 1/4 inch as well. So at the sides we are going to leave about 2 inches space where you'll be turning this out to the right side of your fabric. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do this, and this is what I have when I was done. So I have this little space of 2 inches by the side of one part of this my dress, so I'm going to turn this out to the right side as well. So this is what I have when I flipped it to the right side. So you can see that this our strap came out so nice. Please be careful not to stitch on your strap from the base. So this is the back part of my dress. So I'll go ahead to also fix my strap. So I did this by placing the front part of my dress right sides facing the back part. Make sure that the sides are on the sides and the zipper is in the middle. So exactly on the dart as well, I'll place the notch I have on my strap exactly on that dart. So when I must have done this, I'll go ahead and use my lining piece to cover this up. So the right sides facing each other, lining our fabric, I'm going to join. So before I join, I'll have to pin this down first. So for the top part, I stitch using just 1/2 inch. Then for the 2 sides of this my piece, I join using 1/4 inch. I didn't stitch the base. Okay, so now I'm done stitching. I've gone ahead to remove my pins, and from the base I'll flip this now to the right side. So when you all of this, please ensure that you go ahead to give this a very good press so that it gets very flat. You can as well use your hemming gum to go about this. So now I made sure to align this right sides facing each other so that I can be sure that my strap is fixed properly, and it came out so nice. As you can see right here, it aligned very well. So the next I'm going to do is to fold in that remnant or that open part I have at the base. So I'm just going to fold in 1/4 inch on my fabric and also my lining piece inwards this way. Then I'll pin this down. I'll go to my sewing machine and stitch this down as well, just as I've shown you. So when I'm done doing this, I'll go ahead and give this a very good pressing. Okay, so this is for the skirt part of my gown. So I'll go ahead and remove this pattern paper from my fabric. So this is the back part of my skirt, as you can see right here. So I'll keep one piece of this back skirt aside. So I have my lining piece right now, so I'm going to place it on the right side of my fabric, or sorry, or my skirt, whatever it is. Then I'm going to push my lining down to align at the base with my fabric. So when I do this, you can see that I have excesses at the top part. It's 100% okay. So all I'm going to do is to pin the base of my fabric and my lining together. Then when I'm done, I'm going to stitch it down using just 1 inch. So stitch it down first, the base. When you stitch it down, you now take it up. You now pull your lining up so that it can align with the waist area of your skirt. So this is what it's going to look like. At both sides, I'm going to stitch using just 1/4 inch. I'll stitch the waist part as well. So I'll leave like 2 inches space where I'll turn this out to the right side, just as I showed you for the front part or the upper part of our dress. So this is the skirt part of our dress, of my skirt. I'll also repeat the same thing. I will take my lining to the base to align with my fabric. Then I'll stitch using 1 inch and now take it up. So I'll do all of this, and this is all I have. I've stitched down and ironed everything, and it's looking so flat and nice as well. So for this other side of my back, the lining was quite shorter than my fabric, so I didn't have to fold it in. So you can see that I still have the sides of the front part of my dress to open, which I'll go ahead and stitch later on. So right sides facing each other, I'm going to join this piece I have right here, the back and the front part. So at the sides, I make sure that they align properly, and I'm going ahead now to pin this down. So remember that all these joinings that we have been doing so far, all this joining with 1/4 inch all around, will really affect the stitching allowance that was given to this our dress earlier. So because of that, I'm not going to be stitching this now with 1.5 inches, which was the stitching allowance given earlier. I would have to stitch this down using just 1 inch to avoid this tightening you a lot. Okay, so you can see that I'm marking 1 inch now instead of 1.5 inches. This is because of all the 1/4 inches we have used in stitching our lining and fabric together. So I've gone ahead to do the same thing for the skirt part of my gown. So this is the part where I turned it off to the right side. I'll also go ahead and fold it in this way and stitch it down and iron it as well. So I'll just keep this right side of the front part of my skirt aside, because you'll not really get to see what I mean. So this is the back part of my skirt, and I've also stitched my dart, and the length of my skirt is still 26.5 inches. So you can see how this fabric came up inside on the lining piece. So this is how I always like my fabric, any Ankara print I'm working with, to be with my lining piece as well. I also have this space not stitch. I'll do that later. So this is the right side of my skirt, the front part of my skirt. I'm going to place them right sides facing each other at the sides with the one of the back part of my skirt, and you can see that I've gone ahead now to pin this together. So I'll also mark 1 inch, which I'll use in joining this together, because of all the 1/4 inch we have used in joining our lining and our fabric together. So after joining everything, this is what I have. I'll go ahead now and spread out my skirt. After joining, this is what I have. So right sides facing each other, I'll join the upper parts and the lower parts of my dress together on the waist, When you get to the side joints you have, ensure you open it up. Just as you can see, I'm opening up my side seam right here. I'll pin this together and I'm going to stitch it on the waist using just 1/2 inch.
Damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date.
So you can see that they align properly, and I'll stitch using just 1/2 inch. So now I'm done stitching or joining these two pieces together. So this is what it looks like on the right side. So the only part left open is the zipper area. So I'll bring them together, right sides facing each other this way. So now it's facing, the wrong side is facing the camera. So from the waist part, I'm just going to mark about 7.5 inches below from the waist part after pinning. So this 7.5, I will also come from the base and go up by at least 9 inches. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch from that 7.5 up to these 9 inches I marked right here, and from there I'll stitch this together this way. So this other part from the base is for our working allowance or some, so that we can be free to work while wearing this dress. Then this other part will be where I'll fix my zipper. So this is all I just did. So this is what I have at the end of the day. I hope you found this tutorial really helpful. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all in my next one. Have a lovely time ahead of you. Bye.